Mr. Marmalade. Oh, yeah. DJ Proof. Mamchina, Mauzi, Guturi, Pat, Pararantem. Ayuaka Pinga, Nifin, Yedu, Tasimbisa, Yechinja. Sensiretio. Ayuaka Wakabata, Ramba Ojepola Goma. Ramba Ojepola Goma. Sensiretio, Nepenyure Vanu. Ndokwatinodzidzwa nhau dzacho kuchiridzwa mimanzi yacho DJ Proof ndatiwedzere mawadzi DJ Proof vaudze munhu wese kundovhota ngapinde mukomana ngapinde chamisa uyo achinge apinda corruption ichapera. We need to change, we want to grow. New Zimbabwe, new beginning. Change ratio, nepenyure vanhu. Ndokwatinodzidzwa nhau dzacho kuchiridzwa mimanzi yacho DJ Proof ndatiwedzere mawadzi. Vari kufamba vachitaura anzi change ratio tenema vanoshambadza zvekuyepa upenyu hwakanaka tese tinohuda nyika yedu yakazara uchine mukaka ngatipeiwe chidiki uyu kana ramangwana redu kuti rive rakajeka. Change ratio nepenyure vanhu ndokwatinodzidzwa nhau dzacho kuchiridzwa.
Elections Directorate to update the nation on the ongoing voter registration blitz. However, before we get into that important update, a few remarks. Now, in the next few months, the citizens head to the polls to decide on our collective future. There have been many elections before, all of which have not quite brought the change we desire. However, in true Zimbabwean form, the citizens refuse to give up or lose hope. We've been overwhelmed by the hunger of people, young and old, of all creeds, tribes, and genders for change across all provinces, and their hunger for a Zimbabwe that works for the many and not the few. Since we announced our new movement on the 24th of January 2022, it's grown beyond all expectations. They thought they buried us. They didn't realize that we're proverbial seeds. Now, Change Champion-in-Chief Advocate Nelson Chamisa recently laid out the Zimbabwe agenda for 2023, which is based on 5 pillars, as you all know. The first being that we're going to lead a citizens campaign and a broad-based volunteers program. This is going to see an unprecedented mass movement of citizens coming together like never seen before on the continent. And we've got an energetic team of volunteers, and we encourage all citizens to get involved in this campaign. It won't be an elite campaign, it will be a grassroots campaign. The second pillar is that we've revolutionized and changed our candidate selection process. We're going to have citizen representatives. Communities are going to select their own candidates by consensus. In true democratic fashion, we're going to give communities a voice in deciding who their representatives are. This is a truly democratic system that gives power back to communities whose voices have not been heard so strongly in the past. The third pillar of Agenda 2023 is the need for us to all secure and defend the vote. President Nelson Chamisa indicated that we're going to have polling agents at every single polling station across the length and breadth of Zimbabwe. He also indicated that we're looking at a number of about 44,000 polling stations, polling agents across the country. And this also requires all citizens to make sure that they participate in defending their votes so that we win the nation for change. The fourth pillar is around alternative policy formulation. We're going to have a new Great Zimbabwe blueprint that sets out our plan to govern the nation. The fifth pillar is around global advocacy for change, where we're going to be working with and lobbying SADC, the African Union, and the United Nations to ensure that we internationalize the struggle for a better Zimbabwe. So in line with this agenda, our next steps, obviously we've got the voter registration blitz that my colleague from the Elections Directorate is going to speak to just now. But after that, we're going to go straight into community candidate selection by consensus. And just to be clear, the communication as to when this will be rolled out will be made officially through our official channels. So make sure you tune in for that. We're going to ensure that the process is transparent and widely publicized, so everybody can look forward to that. And if you do have an interest in standing, please look out for that announcement so that communities also step up. We want to ensure that in all streets, all communities, all villages, citizens have a voice in deciding who represents us as citizens in the upcoming government. The next step, obviously, is around proclamation. In terms of our electoral law, Mr. Mnangagwa is to proclaim the election date. Thereafter, the voters' roll will be closed. And after that, we'll have the nomination, the formal court nomination process of candidates. And then we're going to see our mass citizen campaign that President Nelson Chamisa spoke of in full swing. Now, our goal is to win hearts and minds. We've got a plan, as you'll hear at the launch of our new Great Zimbabwe Blueprint, to build new infrastructure through efficient stewardship of our resources and prudent fiscal management. You're going to be voting for an energy plan that includes credible guarantees to independent power producers, flexible licensing for renewable energy investors, accelerated investment in large-scale power projects, and an overhaul of our transmission networks. I think we all are having trouble with the excessive load shedding, and that's going to be a thing of the past when the citizens win Zimbabwe for change. We're also going to deliver a modern health plan where our budget meets the Abuja Declaration on Budgetary Allocations to Health, keeping our health workers at home through better pay, and harnessing the vast talent pool in the private and public sectors. We also have an education plan. As we all know, education is the bedrock of any successful nation. We will ensure that teachers are paid adequately and there's sufficient capital funding in schools, and we update our curriculum to make sure that it's fit for purpose. Our farmers will be voting for our agricultural policy, which rewards farmers for their hard work. It does not rob farmers through opaque programs that benefits the elite. The farmers will vote for title deeds to their land and better prices for their crops. We similarly have a mining policy that's going to ensure that we rectify all the anomalies that we currently see in the mining sector, which seems to be benefiting elites through gold smuggling, which is costing the fiscus $100 million US every single month. We're going to see an end to that. And we also have an anti-corruption plan to ensure that there's sincerity in the fight against corruption. Now, obviously, we note the last-minute attempts by ZANU-PF to throw trinkets at traditional leaders, our chiefs, at soldiers, at civil servants, but the citizens know how much they've been suffering over the past 5 years. And what we commit to as the CCC is restoration of our dignity collectively as Zimbabweans. And so I'll just end with a call to action for the citizens. As always, it's the courage of Zimbabweans that will carry all of us through. We applaud the heroic efforts and defiance of the citizens. We continue to call for the release of Honorable Job Sikhala, who today has been detained for 275 days. And finally, we continue to encourage everybody to hop onto the 1+5 campaign. Ensure that all who are around you are registered to vote so that we win Zimbabwe for change. Without further ado, I'm going to defer proceedings to our Elections Directorate, who today are going to be represented by Ms. Ellen Shiriedenga, who's going to give us an update on the ongoing voter registration blitz.
Thank you so much, Champion Fuzzy. Good morning, everyone. Basically, I will speak to the current voter registration blitz. And I'm sure you are all aware that the process commenced on the 12th of March and is set to end on the 21st of March after 10 days. Our presentation here is to actually make observations and also make propose recommendations to ZEC with respect to the way forward. As you are aware, and also some of you that went through the ZEC delimitation report, ZEC indicated that there is a deficit of around 2.2 million Zimbabweans that are eligible to register to vote but are not on the voters' roll. And we are hoping, as the CCC, that this voter registration blitz will provide the opportunity for those Zimbabweans that are not on the voters' roll to be registered as voters. The background to this is, as we have constantly called for the voter registration centers to be accessible to the generality of the population. If you noted before the blitz, these registration centers were only in the 63 districts of ZEC throughout the country, which in some instances, you know, where people were to travel, say, for example, Victoria Falls to Wange, which is the nearest center, someone had to travel about 100 kilometers to just get registered. And remember, we are talking about young people who do not have money. And surely they are not in a position to sacrifice $10, $20, $25, you know, to just go and register. So this opportunity of the blitz has come in handy for such people. And we, as the CCC, we have always been on point to say, as part of our electoral reforms, let the voter registration blitz be mandatory before any general election. You go to the Electoral Act, the blitz is up to the discretion of ZEC. It can come today and say, no, we are not conducting a blitz. But yet there are people out there that will be disfranchised. So we are calling for the mandatory blitz before any general election. With regards to our observation, let me hasten to say there's been a lot of enthusiasm amongst first-time voters. Some of you as journalists, we bumped into you as we were doing our monitoring. You could note that in some areas there were long queues of young people. Despite the challenges that I'm going to speak to, but some were determined. You know, there was a lot of zeal. There was a lot of excitement. Clearly, young people are determined to be the change agents for Zimbabwe. They are determined to take control of this country, and that can only be done through voter registration. So we are happy, and we continue to applaud those young people that have taken the hit from ZEC to go and register. And also, as we have the generality of citizens out there, you know, that have been all over, you know, encouraging these young people to go and register to vote. And we certainly applaud them for that effort. Let me go on to the challenges that I encountered. Firstly, there's the malalignment of the voter registration blitz with the identity card issuance blitz. I'm sure some of you noted that the Minister of Home Affairs, they actually published a circular, I think it came out 2 or 3 days back, to say they are also conducting an ID issuance blitz. Of course, that is one of our calls as the CCC to say, it's either the Home Affairs Department precedes ZEC to issue ID cards and then people will come and register later. Or alternatively, we have some kind of a one-stop shop where people get issued with IDs. From there on, they just get they get the opportunity to register as voters. So this is what we have been calling for. We have noted the notification from the Minister of Local Government, but however, we are saying it's not enough. We had hoped that ZEC was going to sit down with the local government, with the Minister of Local Affairs, Minister of Home Affairs, and come up with a calendar which would actually indicate some concurrence between the two institutions. But clearly, that was not done. The danger to this is we will go back to the same dilemma as in January 2022 and April 2022 when we had the first and second blitz. We had a situation where ZEC just went ahead first and attempted to register people. Out of a target of 2 million, they only managed to register around 226,000, which was a meager to 8%. And if that problem between the two institutions is not addressed, then we risk having young people failing to register because they do not have identity card documentation. So this is our call to the Registrar General's office and to ZEC as well to say, sit down and synchronize your calendars. Where instances where people are not able to access the ID documentation, let's make arrangements to give those people the opportunity. Also, with regards to the challenges, the second issue is the BVR machines malfunctioning. We have had quite a number of those instances, to an extent that you would have a situation like, for example, in Go-To Central Ward 35, there was one machine in Mabugu Primary School, and that machine malfunctioned, and it only started to work at 3 p.m. Subsequently, ZEC was only able to register 7 people, because remember, the cutoff time for registration is 5 p.m. So there was a long queue for about 40 or 50 people that wanted to register but did not get that opportunity. They were told the ZEC registration, or the ZEC officers would move to a neighboring center within the ward, which was Mushayavanu registration center. So those 40 people, they went to Mushayavanu the following day. And guess what? The machine malfunctioned again. And
ulilima wapuma, bekujinga wapuma, ukwekwe wapuma, ukokwe wapuma, zegeza wapuma, mukoba wapuma, kutichamisa imari, acha tutungamira Zimbabwe.